Hey, I am really, really excited for this next speaker. How many of you would like to increase your revenue without adding new clients? Right? All of us would like to do this. So, I'm really excited to welcome Anton Anderson. Anton began his career in 2003 with Smith Barney while studying business in college, and he graduated from the University of California, Santa Barbara, in the top 3% of his class. In 2008, he co-founded SBL Financial, which grew into a thriving practice before selling it in 2014, where he started Elite Resource Team. Some of you may have heard of that. Recognized as one of the top training companies for financial advisors and accountants, Elite Resource Team has thousands of clients across North America. Anton has developed a diverse career as an investor, advisor, and CPA consultant. He's also an Amazon #1 best-selling author in both accounting and financial services with his book, The Art of Collaboration. Talk about a guy who knows how to bridge the gap between the CPA community and the financial advisor community. This is your man. So, Anton, I'm going to turn it over to you and show us how to create more revenue without adding new clients.
Well, thank you very much, my friend. I appreciate the Much Dance song. For those of you that have been to our events, you might know I enjoy dancing myself. Dave, Jackie, Jolie, Veronica, thank you so much for having me. Really excited for this discussion. And I've been just a fly on the wall for the day, and I've learned a ton of good stuff. So I love the community you've built. I love Tax Plan IQ, and I love the vision of everybody here. So thank you. Thank you for the welcomes, everybody. I'm looking at the chat right now, and it feels very nice to see some familiar names up here. All right, so let me go ahead and share my screen. As Dave said, my background originally is in the wealth management side. So I started at Smith Barney, left there, joined a smaller boutique firm, and I touch on that because it's interesting. It was the early days of a multifamily office, and you'll see how this flows into the discussion for the next 40 minutes or so. And what we did is we tried to bring together wealth management, insurance, legal services, and some tax planning to attract high net worth individuals and business owners. And after the crash of 2008, I left there. I started my own advisory firm. Normally, when I have an opportunity to speak to a group like this, I tell my story about growing my advisory firm through collaborative partnerships with CPAs and attorneys. And then ultimately, as Dave referenced, I sold that in 2014 and co-founded Elite Resource Team. But this is a little bit of a unique audience for me. And Dave and Sarah and Jackie shared that there was over 1,000 CPAs or accountants that had registered for today's event. So I actually thought it'd be interesting to do something a little different today. Rather than tell you my story, what I wanted to do is tell the story of Elite Resource Team and our evolution and development of a pretty robust virtual family office from one of my business partners' perspective, who is an accountant. And in case you don't know who I'm referring to, Paul Latham. So Paul is an accountant by background, and he grew his accounting firm. He eventually had about 225 employees, and he sold it for roughly 45 million. So I want to share with you the story of Paul's background, and more importantly, how we came together and how we have helped advisors and accountants mimic some of the success he's had, but without the 225 employees. So Paul's firm, basically, it had one major goal, and that was to take a more proactive and holistic approach to the client's financial pictures to really differentiate themselves. And that came about just because of awareness around what high net worth clients were asking for was things that were outside of the realm for the traditional accountant. Now, you know this because you're here at the Tax Plan IQ Virtual Summit, but things like unique tax credits, business planning, asset protection, advanced qualified plans, risk mitigation, and obviously on and on. So years after Paul sold his firm, we were introduced. We hit it off for pretty much right away. And we started brainstorming. How can we help advisors and accountants create successful, profitable firms, but ideally do that without hiring 200 plus employees? And so I think what we came up with is something that's pretty powerful. And it's really all around this idea of a pre-vetted team of niche wealth, finance, tax, legal, and business specialists that we could bring into client conversations as needed and sharing the revenue from these opportunities. So we realized if we could build that type of robust team, then we would truly have a virtual family office for all clients' needs. Before I jump into the story of the virtual family office, I just want to pause and I'll kind of keep my eye on the chat box here. How many people, just give me a yes or a no in the chat box, how many people I would say are very familiar with the concept of a virtual family office? Not just heard the term in a marketing sense, but truly understand and feel familiar with a virtual family office. Okay, I see Rich says yes, Daryl says yes. Oh, too many for me to keep up, but I see half a dozen no's. Let's see. Siobhan says no. Stephen Cox, I know you are, my friend. Trisha says no. All right, Kelly says no. Jeff says yes. All right, so pretty mixed. So let me just take 30 seconds and I'll do my best to family office, yes, virtual. Okay, good. Penny, thank you for that comment because that tees in very nicely with what I'm going to cover here. 30-second history lesson on family offices and the evolution into multifamily and eventually virtual family offices. So the origination of the family office, at least in the US, is mostly credited to the Rockefellers around 1882. Here's the backstory. They were frustrated with the various professionals giving their family conflicting advice. So their attorneys would say one thing, their tax professionals would say something else, their stockbrokers in that day would say another thing, and all of their specialists were telling their different family members all of this different advice. So it was creating conflict internally. So what they decided to do is travel the country and look for the best of the best at what those individual professionals did. And then they made an offer, a very attractive offer, to hire those individual professionals to come and work as employees for that family. And the thinking was we are going to force these professionals to work as a team to ultimately form the best possible advice for our internal family. And the same concept of that single family office, which by the way, typically applies to multi-billionaire plus type of net worth. And even in the multi-family office, you're still looking typically at 250 million north of net worth. A virtual family office takes that same concept. Again, a team of professionals across multiple disciplines, including tax planning, wealth management, legal services, business advisory, risk mitigation. So this team all collaborating, but in a virtual environment where they can deliver that comprehensive advice for not only the extremely high net worth, not only the ultra successful business owners, but also the mass affluent clients that still would benefit from true collaboration. So the idea of the virtual family office allows professionals like me, like you, to harness the power of a team whenever they are needed without, as Paul did, hiring 225 people in-house. Does that resonate? I talk to Paul about this all the time, and he says, if I didn't have to have 225 employees to be able to deliver this truly comprehensive service to attract the best clients, do you know how much easier my life would have been? So I'm going to talk a little bit more about examples of the core distinctions or divisions of a virtual family office. But what I just want to touch on briefly on this slide is this concept that a virtual family office, in our opinion at least, and again, I've been doing this since 2010 with my own practice, 2014 within the CEO of Elite Resource Team. It really should cover 5 specific areas: tax planning, risk mitigation, wealth management, legal services, and business advisory. And I'm going to give you examples of all of those in a few minutes, but I just kind of want to roll with this story that Paul and I's experience. So what we started to do is introduce this language of the virtual family office and introduce specialists within our virtual family office to the advisors and accountants that we work with, and ultimately, of course, the end user clients. And what we started hearing is clients were beyond happy, right? They were getting holistic and proactive financial advice, tax advice, business planning that actually worked together. So we soon started to realize that this virtual family office was really the key to growing a firm's revenue substantially without the headache of hiring and managing a large team. And there is a lot of stress that comes with hiring and managing a team. You have payroll expenses, lack of family time, you have office politics, you have work-life balance, you have health challenges, and a whole lot of other things. So we've now had an opportunity to work with hundreds of advisors and accountants that have really started to make this switch from working in their own individual silos to truly embracing a more collaborative approach and leveraging a virtual family office. And so I'll speak more to what the virtual family office actually means and what it includes and such, but I wanted to kind of quickly dive into a couple case studies. When I was discussing this with Jackie and Dave, I said, take something that will make this theoretical concept, more real so we can wrap our hands around it. So I want to give you two essentially case studies. This is an advisor and accountant that we've worked with, Quasi and Hortensia, and a VFO specialist, Bruce Gendine, who focuses on different types of advanced qualified plans. And so this was actually the accountant's client. It was a government contracting firm. They had 90 employees, did about 30 million of annual revenue, about 7.8 million in annual net income. And the owners were each earning somewhere between 800,000 to 2 million of income per year. What we typically like to do is look for leverage between the different specialists and strategies. So almost never do we want to just come in with one specific product that we're selling. We want to do true planning. So Bruce was the lead specialist from the VFO here. We actually did a couple other things too. So you'll see the strategies that were implemented at a high level was a cash balance plan, but uniquely designed. So it was funded with a combination of life insurance and investment accounts. We restructured the client's qualified business plan. I'll tell you why in a minute. And then we also did some expense mitigation, which you can appreciate with 30 million of gross revenue, 90 employees. If you've never actually done an expense audit of that business, those expenses will get out of control. And then a risk mitigation as well with some of the potential employee issues if we didn't find them. So what was the results for the client? 460,000 of savings in year one, 4.2 million in tax savings over 9 years. And then the owners had tax-free income coming from that life insurance in addition to the death benefit and the living benefits. And they avoided a Department of Labor nightmare because the plan was completely out of compliance before Quasi and Hortensia started working with them. And then what was the revenue share for the VFO expert as well as the advisor and the accountant? The VFO expert charged $3,000 as a setup fee, $4,700 annually to maintain. The advisor and the accountant each earned $103,000. That's between the planning fees, as you're learning about with Tax Plan IQ, as well as the life insurance and the AUM that were used inside of the cash balance plan. Is that pretty wild? This was a client for years of the accountants. Didn't realize how much more she could have done. 460,000 in tax savings in the first year. $103,000 of additional revenue for her, 103,000 for the advisor. All right, here's the second one. This is Carson, the advisor. Richard, who we didn't get a photo of in time. So here's our nice stock image. And VFO specialist named Mark Goodman was the lead VFO specialist. There's actually two more involved that I'll share with you in terms of what was actually put into effect here. Client. This was a client of the accountants. They were a farmer, successful farmer with significant assets, but they were non-tangible, land. So very little liquidity. The issue was they needed to secure some permanent life insurance to cover substantial debt, as well as looming estate taxes, okay? They also were frustrated with the amount of taxes, income taxes that they were paying, as I'm sure all of you can appreciate. And they wanted to reduce risks that are inherent in the farming business, bad crop, weather, all types of things that it's difficult sometimes to get traditional insurance for, or it's extremely expensive. So what were the different strategies that were put into place? 3 different VFO specialists worked together along with the advisor and the accountant here to do a premium funded life insurance policy, which if you're familiar with the term premium finance, this is actually a very different strategy than that. It's premium funded life insurance, private bond offering from a bank. They did an 831B captive insurance, which allowed them to reduce the risks, again, that are inherent within the farming business. And then they used a tax savings vehicle, which I know is also used by Tax Plan IQ, called a structured ownership plan. And that helped significantly with the tax mitigation. So the client was able to secure about a $20 million policy without using any of their own money, right? They used the client's assets to secure that. They used it for collateral. And then they also were able to reduce the risks through the captive insurance policy, the 831B, as well as mitigate some of the income tax from the structured ownership plan. Pretty incredible when different specialists come together. The accountant earns 30 grand. The VFO specialist earned 97 grand. The advisor earned 137 grand. What's pretty interesting about this one is the advisor and the VFO specialist did almost all of the work. The accountant's responsibility was really to lead that client, just make sure they were comfortable and didn't have any questions. So those are two cases or examples that I'm hoping you can see how the advisor and the accountant are moving into a wealth building partner with these clients. And they're really looking at their financial and tax situation holistically, rather than just this more traditional singular focus. What I mean by singular focus is when you look at the way that traditionally Paul would have served his clients as an accountant, or Anton would have served his clients as a traditional financial advisor, is we would focus on bringing to the marketplace the area of expertise that we specialize in. So for me, that might be investment management. For Paul, that might be tax planning or tax compliance. And a recent survey surveyed 1,000 business owners. And what they found is that they asked, what do you want versus what are you receiving from your professionals? Investment management, 95% want it, 88% felt like they were receiving it. So a very small delta. Now, tax planning, it was a much larger delta. 92% of people wanted it. I don't know who the 8% that didn't want it. I've never met them, but 92% of people said, yes, I want tax planning, and only 25% said, yeah, I feel like I'm adequately receiving it. That's a bigger delta, and that's why you're here with Tax Plan IQ. That's why I think Tax Plan IQ is such an incredible software to really help deliver value to that percent of the marketplace that wants it but doesn't feel like they're getting it. Our approach with the family office was to look at it in a slightly different way. We don't just want to focus on the clients that want the investment management or the tax planning. What we wanted to do was truly build, through that virtual family office structure and collaboration, a value proposition that said, instead of just focusing on that one area, we want to offer what clients really want, which is a holistic wealth building partner across all of the areas where there still is a ton of opportunity. Okay, so this is what we refer to as the team-based model, and it basically is comprised of two different things. In this image on the left-hand side, you see the clients there, and then in the middle, you see the advisor and the accountant. Our belief is clients are much better served and our businesses are more efficient when an advisor and an accountant come together in a strategic relationship, not necessarily forming a legal partnership, but they start forming a team. They leverage each other, and anything that's outside of their area of expertise, they are now backed by a virtual family office. All right, so let me dive into some examples of what each of those 5 areas would actually include. And then after I do that, I'm going to talk in a few minutes about this idea, which I'm sure somebody on the line has. Should I just do this on my own? Business advisory, what does that actually mean? If you've worked with business owners, you know, people like me, people like Jackie, our business is our baby. It's our blood, our sweat, our tears. We've given it all. So you come alongside and you help them with strategic planning, with discussions around exit planning or succession planning, financial management, improving the operations of the company, looking at their key performance indicators, talking about growth, talking about expansion ideas. You help them with their baby. That's business advisory specialists. Risk mitigation is all about how do you mitigate risk. That could be through property and casualty insurance, could be captive insurance companies. The risk personally of dying too soon or living too long or disability or theft. Then you have legal services. This is the legal work that the attorneys are doing often behind the scenes, drafting of the trust or the will for the estate plan, forming the entities, the buy-sell agreements, resolving disputes, helping with mergers and acquisitions. And then, of course, you have wealth management, which is not only the financial planning, retirement planning, but for those of us here, and I'm assuming all of you are here because you want to work with either high income earners or successful business owners. If you're here that want to attract that client, you also have to really understand and have specialists that understand alternative investments, real estates, and to some degree, cryptocurrencies, art, NFTs. And then, of course, the one that is front and center today is the tax planning. And that is, how do we strategically make decisions to minimize or mitigate or eliminate income tax, short-term capital gains, long-term capital gains, estate planning tax. And I think Tax Plan IQ is exceptional at doing that. So different strategies, of course, would be the cash balance plan I used earlier. I heard the accountability plan reference, the Augusta rule, entity selection, tax loss harvesting, Native American tax credits, solar funds, and on and on. So with what we have built, we work with over 75 virtual family office specialists, and we do that to help advisors and accountants expand their services and share in that revenue. Now I'm seeing Jackie Compton saying, you can't do all of that with a small firm. No, you can't. Unless you have a team that you can leverage, Jackie. And that's the whole point, is that when you partner, when you pair Tax Plan IQ with, I think, a virtual family office and collaboration between partners, all of a sudden you have something that's extremely powerful. And here's a few CPAs sharing some feedback. This is Jeff Golbus. When I take my clients through the team-based model process, they love it. We uncover things that they didn't even know they need. And using Tax Plan IQ for the tax planning piece makes it really easy to seal the deal because we can show them the ROI. This is Sherry saying, I didn't even know these other business challenges that my clients had. I know I can't be an expert in everything, which is why the virtual family office is so valuable. It gives us more bench strength than I've ever had. And Patricia saying, in just a few months of being partnered with a team-based model advisor, I've increased my monthly revenue by $5,000. I'm confident that I'll be generating an additional 100K this year from a combination of tax planning backed by the virtual family office. And I expect that to be roughly 300,000 easily next year. So I referenced a couple minutes ago, one of the things I like to just bring front and center with accountants, and that's this thought, can I just do it alone? You know, I already offered tax compliance work. Maybe your insurance license, maybe your securities license. Maybe the advisors are saying, yeah, do I really need tax planning software? Do I really need an accountant to work with, or virtual family office specialist? And my comment is this, and I mean this as no offense to anybody on the line at all, but oftentimes when I hear professionals say that, oh, I can do that. I have these licenses. I could do that. I already do that. So I have a 6-year-old son. Tomorrow is his soccer tournament, the final day of the soccer league. And then after Saturday soccer, on Sunday, we'll go to swim lessons. And in about 2 weeks from now, he'll start his skateboard class. And as a 6-year-old, you can dabble in a lot of things. And when he's 16, he'll be in high school. And he probably won't be playing a dozen sports. He won't be dabbling. He'll find his 3 or 4 sports that he really likes, and he'll start narrowing in and focusing on that. And from 16 to, say, 20, when he's in college, all of a sudden you have to start deciding, if you want to be on the college soccer team, you're probably not also going to be playing baseball and tennis and surfing and doing skateboard class. Now, what you start doing is, you start what? As you start getting older and better, what do you start doing? You start specializing, right? You start focusing. So think about the college athlete that might be playing 2, 3, 4 sports. How many professional athletes that are at the top of the game do you know that are playing professional soccer and baseball and basketball? You don't. You don't see that. Michael Jordan is probably the best example of somebody who was the best of the best in basketball, and then, yeah, gave it a run at baseball, but it's too hard. The better and better you want to be, and the better clients you want to be working with, the more you have to start focusing in on the things that you truly enjoy doing and you think you're the best at. So that's my suggestion, is don't try to go out and do it all on your own. Don't try to become a jack of all trades. Just do what A, you're really good at, and B, you enjoy. Form collaborative partnerships with other professionals, and then leverage a virtual family office of specialists. Does that make sense? Hopefully that concept is resonating there. All right, so I want to touch on this for a moment. A team-based model certified professional. What's the difference between a normal advisor and a team-based model advisor. You saw in a couple of the quotes, I've been working with a team-based model advisor. My company, Elite Resource Team, trains advisors. We train advisors on how to understand a virtual family office and learn about the individual specialists, go through a curriculum that's co-taught by Paul Latham, that accountant, my business partner accountant, so they better understand the world that accountants are in, what the tax deadlines are, how hard you work. They understand how to actually bring you value. We introduce them to Tax Plan IQ software. They've met Jackie and had some training from Jackie. And then we meet with them for a minimum of 6 times over the course of 12 months to make sure they are actually knowledgeable in everything that I've been discussing. And if they do that and they pass the certification, then they become a team-based model certified professional. We have dozens of professionals we've worked with. This is just a screenshot of a handful of them here. So what are the benefits of working with a team-based model certified professional? I'm going to go through 4 or 5, talk to you about what it actually would look like, and then open this up for some questions. So a team-based model professional, you get to collaborate on different ideas. Those examples of the clients that I shared earlier, the farmer or the government employee, you collaborate. What can we do here? What specialists would you think about? What do you think about these changes coming down the road? You get to share in tasks. I heard Jackie and Veronica talking about working until 2 a.m. and then being back at the office at 6 a.m. the next day. Hopefully nobody on the line right now is working those kind of hours, but still 9:15, 10:15, 3:15, 4:15. What are those deadlines like for you? Would it be nice to have somebody else that could actually share in that weight? That's not an employee that you don't have to pay their salary, but you collaborate and share in work and tasks. Advisors tend to be actually really good at plan implementation. That's traditionally how we've made our living, is by helping clients take action. So as you're using Tax Plan IQ and you're starting to offer tax planning, one of the things that your partner can do is they can help your clients to actually implement. You get to leverage each other's strengths. Advisors have been trained to communicate, to influence, to lead. Sometimes that's uncomfortable for accountants, right? And accountants have other strengths that sometimes the advisors don't. So you leverage each other's strengths. You get an access to additional revenue streams, whether that's insurance or assets under management or proactive planning fees. You have additional revenue streams that become open for you. You have a true multidisciplinary offer. That's what I was referring to earlier. You have now multiple professionals under one roof, and you get to increase your chances of success. For those of you that know me know I'm a big time surfer. I went to Indonesia 2 years ago, and we could have fumbled around the local surf breaks ourselves, but what did we do? We hired a guide because the guide knows the area and has been there before. It's exactly the same as working with somebody that's worked with high income earners or business owners, worked with VFO specialists. You have a much higher degree of likelihood of success if you're working with somebody that has been there before. Additionally, you get access to our full virtual family office, over 75 specialists. You get education from them. Things like ideal client requirements, the investment or the cost of working with them, the summary of the benefits, how to get started with those, the process of working with them, why that specialist versus anybody you could Google, and what the revenue share already is. Additionally, you get access to a virtual family office community where you get to ask questions about situations. You can learn from other members. You can share your experiences. And you can see in the center of the screen here, there's 386 members currently in the Elite Virtual Family Office community. When I took this snapshot, there were 6 people online. And you can see a couple days ago, Jason asked, anything out there for mitigating a $500,000 capital gain from the sale of a rental property back in January? Client wants the liquidity. I know the SOP would work, but I don't think they meet the minimum. The travel credits is a possibility, and then you'll see within 2 hours, there was already 12 people that had answered, commented, provided some insight or some guidance, other VFO specialists that offered to help. So it's just this incredible collaboration in this community. I made a note earlier because I saw somebody say, anyone on today have an expertise in 1031? Great question. And Jackie was able to answer it very quickly because they have a number of phenomenal tax planning specialists for you here. But what about in the risk mitigation? What about in the wealth management? What about in legal services? What about in business advisory? So if you ever need somebody, there's a community here where you can ask and get introductions. And it's not only to somebody that you happened to meet or happen to be on the webinar at the same time as you. No, they're truly some of the best at what they do. And how do we know? We take them through a verification process. We hire a third-party company to do background checks on them and credential verification. They have a little green check mark in the profile, so you know exactly what process they've gone through. We speak to clients that they've worked with. We typically work with them with a small group of members before we introduce them to the community as a whole. And then what we do is we make this all very transparent. So inside of this community that I referenced here, just imagine not only is there the 75 VFO experts inside of these 380 members, but there's also the 320 members that are all giving reviews. So they're saying, hey, I met with this person, we went through the process, here was my experience. They actually rate the specialist. So they say out of 1 to 5 stars, I'd give them X rating. Or if they wanted to do due diligence, hey, I found this article about so-and-so's strategy. Anybody else see this? Has anybody had a letter of opinion from an attorney on this strategy? All of this is available in the community. So there's full transparency. Full transparency. All right, so in summary, and then I see a bunch of questions and a couple of comments, which I'm excited to get to. In summary, benefits to accountants. It's an additional revenue stream. You have access to a robust virtual family office of over 75 vetted specialists. You avoid having to hire hundreds of employees like Paul Latham did. You increase the chances that your clients actually implement the tax planning strategies that you're identifying for them using the Tax Plan IQ software. You increase client satisfaction because what do clients want? They don't need to work with the smartest accountant or the smartest tax planner in the entire country. No, they want their problem solved, right? They want you to see ahead of the corner and make sure that you're putting them in the best possible place when it comes to their business and their personal lives. You generate more quality introductions from clients because you're truly giving them a unique value proposition, something to truly share. You have access to advisors that understand your world with specific training about what you're going through. You have additional set of hands to assist you with any bandwidth issues. Yes, something just caught my eye here in the chat. Who, not how, exactly. Don't worry about how you become a tax planning expert or how you integrate a virtual family office. Just figure out who has already successfully done it and then leverage that. And you have additional set of eyes to brainstorm solutions with. That gets me excited. I mean, give me some feedback. Is that interesting? Is that not kind of cool to just think about how incredible our industries are right now and this world is where true collaboration can take place like this? All right, and this is not a sales pitch because there is no cost to associate or access all of those benefits that I just went through if you're working with a team-based model certified professional. So what does that mean? We're not making money pitching something to you here. We're just saying all of this collaboration is available. And if you would like an introduction or even to explore working with a team-based model certified professional, what I would ask is that you type in intro into the chat box right now. So if you type in intro into the chat box right now, what we will do is we have members on my team of elite resource team here. I am terrible at multitasking, so please don't ask me to try to do it. But what we will do is we will write down your name and we will reach out to you to help structure an introduction. I'm excited because I'm already seeing a ton of intros coming through. So that is fantastic. And wait. For anyone that requests an introduction, what we'll do is we'll send you a free copy if you don't have this of our book. Paul Latham and I co-authored it. So it's written from the perspective of both an accountant and an advisor. And by the way, if you look closely at the bottom of the book, you'll see it's a forward from our one and true our doctor, Jackie Meyer. So Jackie read this. I think, Jackie, if I'm not mistaken, you said you read this 2 or 3 times, if I'm
I
not mistaken.
did.
Keep me honest here, but
That's
so Jack,
correct.
Well, and Anton too, we're going to send out the info to everyone afterwards so that they all get it too. So I
perfect.
know your team's feverishly writing down all these people's names from the intro, but they are going to get an email to where they can connect with you further and your team further. So if you
Love it.
don't, if for some reason it doesn't, you don't get everybody or something like that, don't worry. You guys just be on the lookout for a message after this event to where you can connect with them directly.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Dave. Yes, Darrell just received the book this week. Great to hear. Thank you. Yeah, it's fun. It hit #1 bestseller within 24 hours. And you know what's interesting about that? Bestseller in what divisions? Accounting and financial services. So I think it resonates, this idea of collaboration, working together, leveraging a virtual family office. So we're happy to, and not only the ebook, like we will literally mail you physical copy of the book if you would like it. In fact, we just finished the audio version, which will be up on Audible within the next week. So that will be live too. So let me just wrap this and then I'll go to some questions because I think I saw a handful come through. In summary, there's no obligation or financial commitment. Okay. So this is purely an opportunity to generate more revenue beyond tax planning, which by itself is already like mind-boggling and so exciting, everything Tax Plan IQ has built. So it's a way to leverage a virtual family office and a partner to help you integrate and attract better clients by leveraging this virtual family office. I promise you, it is in high demand right now for clients. I'm seeing a lot of virtual family offices pop up in the last 12 to 24 months. I don't mean to be condescending, but oftentimes what I see when we dig under the hood a little bit of a virtual family office is it's either a wealth manager that also does insurance and maybe has a CPA on staff, but they're really saying that virtual family office just to get more assets, or maybe it's a CPA and their securities license or insurance license. That's great. And actually, I really should I should be careful not to be condescending because I really encourage that. I think it's a great step in a very good direction. But that's a multidisciplinary firm. I would argue that in order to be a true virtual family office, going back to what I was sharing earlier, I would argue that you really need to have specialists within all 5 of these areas. You've got to do the tax planning. It's such a high demand. So if you're here and you're not using Tax Plan IQ, like just know that's what clients want. But you also have to have the ability to help them with the risk mitigation, the wealth management, the legal services, and the business advisory. So if you're already on your way, you're a multidisciplinary firm, fantastic. Leverage a virtual family office. Just fill in the gaps of where you're weak. So again, in summary, it's an opportunity to generate more revenue beyond the tax planning and attract better clients. If you choose to work with a team-based model advisor, it doesn't need to conflict with any current advisor relationships you have. This is not a exclusive, you have to sign the dotted line. This is a way to create true synergy between professionals. And the introduction request is just to explore collaboration with the virtual family office. Okay, so no commitment is required. It's exploring collaboration. It needs to always be a win-win-win. All right, so again, type intro into the chat box right now if you would like us to introduce you to a team-based model certified professional, or if you are listening to the recording, you can email support@elite-RT, as in elite resource team, elite-RT.com. With that said, let's take some questions.
We actually have one. Well, we just hit right on the dot, 3:30. So we're gonna have to save them for the panel. You answered a lot of them
Wow, very
through
good.
there.
I have
So
1
way to
minute for
go on
questions.
that. But hey, let me see some emoji fire on that, guys. We're always looking to bring value to you guys as best we can. And obviously, this is an excellent, excellent opportunity. So
Did we get any intro requests, Dave? I didn't see.
I think like 2 or 3.
2 or 3.
Yeah, 2 or 3. So you got a little bit there. Excellent.